Okay, let me just wait this out. Kia ora, John.
Yep.
Thank you very much for saying that you would spend a few minutes with me to talk about what's going on in GI.
Yep.
From our perspective, we've seen what's happening on the ground at the protests with a lot of occupiers and support and students and other people affiliated with the 99% supporting the GI residents. We've also seen the mainstream media coverage, and we feel that it falls short, to say the least, of the real picture. So what we're hoping to do now is just give you an opportunity to say in an unedited fashion all the things that the corporate media won't let you say, so that we can put this korero out to the people worldwide.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm very happy very keen to do that. I think, well, there's several things about the corporate media that are a serious problem. One of them is that the New Zealand Herald, which for Auckland issues is often the media which sets the tone for things, right? And you'll find the TV and the radio stations will pick up stuff that's in the Herald. And the Herald have taken the line that this is that the protesters are being unreasonable, and that eventually they'll give up and go home. I mean, the Herald has said that this is not social and ethnic cleansing, which the policy is, and they've said that it's simply the government getting the most out of its housing portfolio. So there's all that economics. So what they're saying is, so what they've done is they basically have never sent a reporter out to one of the protests. Sorry? Yeah. They haven't sent. Sorry, back there. They haven't. The Herald hasn't sent any reporter out to any of the protests, and they've simply sort of turned a blind eye to it, I guess. And so the people who read the Herald get this very distorted picture of what's actually going on. They think the people here are being selfish and are simply standing in the way of progress. They also, from what they've said also, sorry, this is look, can I just start again? Sorry, all over the place here. So, when people write letters to the paper, you see that they don't understand the issues because they haven't been given the information which they should be from the Herald. So there's been very scant reporting of any of the views of the people at GI from the Herald. There's been a much better job done on national radio, where they have actually interviewed some of the people from here and some of the people from Maraenui. But again, in our newspapers, there's been virtually a self-imposed ban. They just don't cover it. I think the police have been appalling from the very first night that the police turned up. The very first protest, the first house that left GI, it wasn't a huge protest because there was only a very small amount of time to get people out there. I was out there and the police were in large numbers, and they bashed everyone in the protest. They simply waded in and bashed people. And I've been in protests all my life, and that was the first time I got cracked ribs from police action. It was very violent, and most of the people in that small protest were middle-aged women, and they were absolutely outraged at what happened in Silverton Avenue. So that was only snippets of that got reported in the media, and the subsequent protests, sometimes the police have been much more restrained, like they were
in daylight by any chance?
Yeah, in daylight. When you've got night time, when there's lots of police, a protest going on, no media, then the police will weigh down, and they have. But what they have also been doing recently is they come along with their own video crew and their own photographers, and they take photos of everybody there. They take still photos of everybody who's there, and they take a movie of everything that's going on. And it's very intimidating for people who turn up on a protest to find suddenly they're being photographed by the police. I mean, this is what happens in Tiananmen Square in China when people come into a protest in a totalitarian state. This is what happens. We shouldn't have that experience here in New Zealand for people involved in legitimate political protest, exercising their rights under the Bill of Rights Act, but we have it here. It's intimidating and it's wrong and it shouldn't be happening. So those are the aspects of the police role. And I think the other thing is on the whole Tamaki transformation project. No one from the media has put the Minister of Housing on the spot over this. They simply haven't. Phil Heatley has only been put under pressure by some of the questions asked in Parliament, particularly from Honi Harawira, but also some questions from the Greens and some questions from Labour on the whole housing issue. He has never been put under pressure, and he is getting away with the destruction of communities right around New Zealand. Now, I think we're at the verge of breaking through that, and the very fact that we've got these grassroots movements coming through is forcing the government to say, look, this is getting out of control, close this down, and then the pressure will really come on Heatley. And I think in that environment we have the chance to negotiate something far better for the community.
That's really awesome to hear, and we totally concur with that. Also, I think that GI is like a blueprint, because if they can get away with it here, then they're going to do it to Beach Haven on the North Shore, they're going to do it to the other areas that have significant state housing stock, and those families too are going to find themselves in exactly the same situation. So I think, as someone said earlier tonight, it's really important that we make this stand now, or if we lay down and take it, it's just going to replicate elsewhere.
It is. It's certainly on the biggest scale. They've done little bits of this in the past. They certainly have. They've done it up in Madeline Avenue, which was Madeline Avenue. They've now renamed it Mount Taylor Drive in Glendowie. And what they did there was very similar, a street full of state houses. And what the government did in the 1990s, the national government, they demonised the street. They said it was full of crime, it was full of this and this
like
and this.
The gang
and
line they give now.
That as the excuse for getting rid of all the state houses. You drive down that street now and it's just full of mansions. And this is mansions for the wealthy. So we're seeing the same thing same process beginning in GI. And it's on a much bigger scale than anything they've ever done before. And yes, it is a model. And what it is a model for is it's a model for social and ethnic cleansing of an area that the rich would like to live. Social and ethnic cleansing. Shift the families out and allow the wealthy to come in and build their flash homes. And the people from Glen Innes over the next few years are going to find their rates increase, their rentals increase dramatically, and the ones that whose homes are not taken now will be forced out of their homes. Even people who are private owners are going to find their rates far too high, because this is low incomes right across this community, and they'll be heading out South Auckland or West Auckland. So this is a massive exercise in social cleansing, and we have to oppose it.
Twice now I've spoken to residents on the ground at GI Actions, and both times I've been told that the government line that they're being resettled in the area is fiction, that in fact by and large they are pushed well out of Auckland. Also that a number of tactics have been used to trick them and trick residents out of their properties, so that the government can then say, oh, too bad, you can't come back into it.
They've got 70 families out of the first 156 they want to move, that they have moved, and those people they've been pressured out. And it's very difficult. I can understand the situation the family's in, because the 2 or 3 Housing New Zealand people come and they say, oh, you have to move because we're going to redevelop this area, and if you agree to move now, we've got a lot more options for you. We'll be able to find something that's suitable for you. But if you stay and wait, you probably won't get as much choice later on. You might have to just find your own home. There's all this pressure again and again and again. And we've got Peter Sharples, who's the MP for Tamaki Makaurau. He's going to the community saying, accept what the government says, leave GI. And we've got the Associate Minister of Housing, Tariana Turea, not standing with the people. And we've got others in Parliament fighting very hard and have spoken very strongly. And I'm talking about Honi Harawira from Mana, I'm talking about Holly Hunter from the Greens, and I'm talking about Annette King from Labour. So there are strong voices, but the strength of this campaign is not from voices in Parliament, it's from people on the ground.
And it is very grassroots, and like you say, it's also a huge cross-section of society that you see out there, from the youngsters to the more experienced activists like yourself. It's a full spectrum.
No, it's marvellous, and it's great. It's a privilege to be part of something like this, because we are part of a successful campaign. We're on the way to success.
Awesome. Well, we're filled with hope, and although the mainstream media can't be relied on, we will do our best with our very few resources to get the truth out there. Certainly this video will go out to the international Occupy movement, so thank you.
No, well, it's a pleasure. I'm pleased that this work that you're doing is getting that message out. So thank you very much.